This is part 46 of ASP.NET MVC tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss accessing model metadata from custom templated helpers. Please watch part 45 before proceeding. We'll be using the same example that we worked with in part 45. Now, in part 45, we have customized the date-time editor template to use the jQuery calendar. The problem with this template is that we have hard-coded the date format string to dd, mm, YYY, as you can see here. So from this point on, any datetime property that uses this template will always format the date using that hard-coded string. So the dates are always going to be in dd/mm/YYY format. For example, let's say we have customer model class within our project, and this class has got date of birth property which is of type datetime again. Now, since it is of type datetime, it is going to make use of this template, and it's going to render that date also in dd, mm, YYY. Now let's say our requirement is such that we want to render the date of birth in customer class in dd, YYY format instead of dd, mm, YYY. In that case, this template cannot be used because it's not generic. We have this hard-coded date format string there, which is making it useless with our customer class. So let's make this datetime editor template, as generic as possible. And if we want to do that, we have to remove this hard-coded string, and we want our attributes on these properties of the model classes to drive the format of the date rather than this hard-coded string. So first of all, let's remove that hard-coded string from our datetime editor template. So let's flip to Visual Studio. So this is the datetime editor template that we have been working with. So let's get rid of this hard-coded string from this editor template. So we no longer have the hard-coded string. And then within our employee class, we have this higher date property. So let's set display format attribute, and the data format string here is going to be dd/mm/YYY. Okay, so we want this display format attribute to drive the format for the dates. So here this is our employee class, but then if you have your customer class there, if you want the customer's date of birth to be in mmddYYY, all you do is use that data format string on that customer class. Okay, alright. So now we have this. The next change that we have to do is within our datetime editor. So obviously this higher date has to be formatted using this datetime format string. Okay, and then if you want to retrieve the formatted value, the formatted datetime value, then you need to use another property here. You can't simply say model.value. Model.value is always going to return the unformatted value. So at view data dot template info dot formatted model value. So this property is going to apply the format string that we have specified on this property. So using this format string, it's going to format the date and then return that in that format. So we use that formatted model value property for that. So let's build the solution, and then let's refresh this view and see if it's going to work. So it should apply that format and then display the higher date. But then look at this. It didn't respect that attribute at all. Look at that. First of all, it's displaying the date and it's also displaying the time. We don't want the time. We just want the date part, and the date should be in this format, dd, mm, YYY. Okay, so we didn't get the expected output. That's basically because if you want, this is the editor templates, meaning we are actually editing the employee details. If we want this data format string to be applied in edit mode, then there is a flag that we need to turn on. So there is another parameter that we need to pass to this display format attribute, which is apply format in edit mode. We need to turn that on. Let's build the solution, and then let's refresh this. So now when the page refreshes, it should respect that. Look at that. We have that date, month, and year, dd, mm, YYY. So in your customer class, if you have date of birth property, and if you want that date of birth to be in DD, MM, YYY format, simply use data format string, specify the format there on that class, on that property. So from now on, this datetime editor template is going to use the attributes on datetime properties to determine the format in which the date has to be rendered. Okay, so we have used template info.formatted model value property to retrieve the formatted date value. Alright, and to access model metadata in templates, basically to retrieve the formatted model value, we used template info.formatted model value. Not only that, you can access all sorts of rich metadata using model metadata object. Okay, so for example, if I want to retrieve the display format string that's applied on hire date property, I simply use atViewData.modelMetadata.display format string. So for example, here I want to print the display format string that's there on that class. You can simply say viewData.template model metadata dot display format string. Notice that you have that there. So let's actually retrieve that and put an HTML break. And also, let's say we want the containing class name. So this hire date property is actually present within our employee class. That hire date is for the employee class. So we need to know the type of the containing class. So how do we get that? Again, you can use model metadata class for that purpose. So view data dot model metadata dot containing type is going to let you know that, convert that to string. Okay, similarly, when you use this model metadata object, as discussed, will have access to all sorts of rich metadata. Look at that when I press dot, the IntelliSense shows you what are all the properties that are available. So these properties will give you access to all metadata. Alright, let's actually save this, build a solution. Let's go back to our view and refresh that. So notice that this is the format string that we have applied on the hire date property of the employee class, and mvcdemo.models.employee class is the containing type of this property hire date. Alright, and let's quickly try to save this data and see if everything works as expected. So at the moment we don't have save button. So let's go back to our edit view. In the meantime, let's actually get rid of these attributes from there. Okay, in the edit view, after the form we need a save button, so let's put an HTML break there, and let's include a button. Input type is equal to submit, and the value on that, maybe you want it as save. Alright, let's build the solution and let's refresh this. Now we should get the save button. And notice that at the moment for John Smith, whose ID is 1, date of birth is 11/25, that's November 25, 2007. Let's change it to something else, November 30th, 2007. Let's save that. Now look at this. I get this message. The value 30/11/2007 is not valid for hire date. Why is that? That is because within my web.config file, I think we have set the globalization culture to English-United States. So US has got this format by default, which is MMDDYYY, but here it is DDMMYYY. So that's why it treats that as an error. So to get rid of this error, I'm going to change the culture to EN-GB, and let's refresh this. Now let's try to enter 30, save that, and notice that it gets saved. And then let's quickly check within the database. So November 30th, 2007. Alright, on this slide you can find resources for ASP.NET, C# and SQL Server interview questions. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.